The rescue shuttle dropped out of hyperspace exactly 6 months, 2 weeks, and 4 days after the original distress beacon had fired. Commander Velx of the Galactic Survey Corps stood in the airlock, mandibles clicking nervously as the atmospheric scanner beeped its completion. Breathable, announced Lieutenant Cross, her antenna twitching. The planet's still viable. No sign of immediate danger. Velx felt his 3 hearts hammering in his chest cavity. 6 months. Nobody survived 6 months on an uncharted world. The protocol was clear: retrieve the bodies, salvage the equipment, file the incident report. He had done this 11 times before. Deploy the recovery team, he said, his voice carrying the weight of someone who had seen too many good officers reduced to skeletal remains. The landing party of 6 descended through the purple-tinged atmosphere, the vessel cutting through clouds that smelled faintly of cinnamon. The crash site coordinates led them to a clearing near what the preliminary scans had identified as a freshwater source. Perfect survival spot, Velx thought grimly. Perfect place to die slowly, but when the shuttle touched down, Velx saw something that made his vision blur with confusion. There was a building, not a shelter. Not a crude survival hut made from ship debris. An actual building with walls, a roof, and what appeared to be windows. With curtains. Sir, Cross whispered, her voice strangled. Are those tables? They were. Arranged outside the structure were several wooden tables, each with matching chairs. A hand-painted sign swayed gently in the breeze, the letters written in standard Galactic: The Lucky Landing, Cafe and General Store. This is impossible, Velx muttered, checking his scanner again. The human ship's signature was definitely here. The wreckage was scattered across the valley below, exactly where it should be. But this, the door to the establishment swung open, and a human emerged. She was tall, with skin the color of deep earth and hair tied back in what Velx's cultural database identified as braids. She wore an apron covered in colorful stains, and carried a tray balanced on one hand with the casual grace of someone who had done it 1,000 times. Well, look at that, the human said, grinning widely. Took you long enough. I was starting to think we had the wrong frequency on that beacon. Velx opened his mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. You are alive. Last time I checked, yeah. She set the tray down on the nearest table. Name's Maya Okonkwo, head of the civilian research vessel Wandering Star. Well, former head. The star is pretty much scrap metal now. But hey, when life gives you a crash landing, you make lemonade. Or in this case, cafe. She gestured broadly. You folks want coffee? We have got 6 different varieties now. Turns out the local beans are fantastic once you figure out which ones won't kill you. There were 12 crew on your manifest, Cross said, her training kicking in despite her shock. Where are the others? Oh, they are around. Maya cupped her hands around her mouth. Hey. Marcus. We have got customers. From around the building, a human male appeared, shorter than Maya with pale skin and bright red hair. He was riding something. Velx felt his mandibles lock in place. It was one of the local fauna. A Kresh beast, if his xenobiology training was correct. 6-legged, covered in blue-gray scales, with a head full of sensory tendrils. They were classified as extremely dangerous, territorial predators with a bite force capable of crushing starship hull plating. This one wore a saddle. And what appeared to be a hat. Commander Velx, Lieutenant Cross, meet Biscuit, Maya said cheerfully. Biscuit, these are the nice people who finally came to check on us. The Kresh beast made a rumbling sound that Velx's translator couldn't process. Then it sat down like a trained animal, and the human dismounted with practiced ease. Sorry we are late opening today, Marcus said, brushing dust off his pants. Had to help Biscuit find her babies. They wandered into the northern grove again. Babies, Velx repeated faintly. Oh yeah, she had a litter about 3 months ago. Cutest little things you have ever seen. Well, cute once you get past the teeth. Marcus paused, studying the rescue team with sharp green eyes. You guys look like you have seen a ghost. Did nobody tell you we were okay? Your beacon, Cross said slowly, indicated catastrophic systems failure and life support critical. Standard procedure assumes we are dead. Maya nodded. Yeah, fair. The first week was pretty rough, not gonna lie. We lost the main power core, life support was toast, and half our supplies got scattered across a 2-mile radius. But then we figured, hey, we have got hands, brains, and a whole planet full of resources. Might as well make the best of it. From inside the cafe, another human appeared. This one was older, with grey hair and a face creased by smile lines. She carried a basket filled with what looked like vegetables. Rescue arrived, she asked, not seeming particularly surprised or excited. Looks like it, Dr. Park, Maya confirmed. Dr. Park set down her basket and wiped her hands on her apron. Took your time. We were about to put up a closed for vacation sign. Velx felt reality sliding sideways. Dr. Park. Dr. Linda Park, xenobotanist. That is me. You published the definitive study on hostile environment agriculture. Your work has saved colonies. Nice to be recognized. She smiled. Well, this planet is about to be my magnum opus. Wait until you see the vertical gardens we have built. The soil here is incredible once you balance the pH levels. A roar echoed from somewhere beyond the tree line. Every member of the rescue team reached for their weapons. The humans did not even flinch. That is just Thunderfoot, Marcus said. He gets cranky before lunch. Thunderfoot, Velx said. Big scaled thing, lots of teeth, makes that roaring sound. We named him Thunderfoot because, well, you will see. Marcus checked a timepiece on his wrist. Actually, he should be coming over the ridge right about now. As if on cue, the ground began to tremble. Through the trees came a creature that made Velx's species' ancient predator fear activate in every nerve cluster. It stood 15 feet tall, with scales like armor plating and claws that could disembowel a tank. Its roar could be heard for miles. It was wearing a collar with bells. The creature lumbered up to the cafe, making the ground shake with each step, and stopped in front of Maya. It lowered its massive head, and she scratched it behind what Velx assumed were its auditory organs. Good boy, she cooed. Yes, you are such a good boy. Who wants a snack? You do. Yes, you do. She produced what looked like a massive chunk of dried meat from a container behind the counter and tossed it up. Thunderfoot caught it in midair, chomped twice, and swallowed. We have been working on his training, Maya explained to the stunned rescue team. He is actually a sweetheart once you establish trust. Helps that we figured out they are primarily scavengers, not hunters. The roaring is mostly for show. You, Velx said, his translator barely keeping up with his rapid speech, domesticated a Kresh beast and a thunder titan. 3 species, actually, Dr. Park corrected. Show them the Flitters, Marcus. Marcus whistled, a sharp two-tone sound. From the roof of the cafe, small creatures took flight. They looked like a cross between birds and flying squirrels, with rainbow-colored membranes stretching between their limbs. There were dozens of them, and they swooped and circled in coordinated patterns before landing on various surfaces around the clearing. Flitters, Marcus said proudly. Incredibly smart. We have taught them to help with harvesting fruit from the tall trees. They also do a pretty good mail system between our outposts. Outposts? Cross asked weakly. Maya's grin got wider. Oh, did I forget to mention? We have been kind of busy. Come on, let me give you the tour. She led them around the building. Behind the cafe was a greenhouse, twice the size of the main structure, filled with rows of plants in various stages of growth. Next to it was a workshop with tools, a forge, and what looked suspiciously like a functioning generator cobbled together from ship parts and local materials. Power was the first priority, Maya explained. Marcus is our engineer. Give him some wire, spare parts, and a problem to solve, and he is happy for days. Months, in this case, Marcus added cheerfully. Beyond the workshop was a pen containing several more Kresh beasts, these one smaller than Biscuit. They were playing, or fighting, it was hard to tell. Their rumbling growls sounded almost like purring. The babies, Maya said. We are still figuring out their social structure, but Dr. Park thinks they might be more intelligent than we initially thought. They are problem solvers, Dr. Park added, appearing beside them. I watched one of them figure out a latch mechanism in under 5 minutes. That is crow-level intelligence, possibly higher. Velx turned in a slow circle, taking it all in. The cafe. The animals. The gardens. The humans, alive and healthy and utterly unconcerned with the fact that they had been stranded on a hostile alien world for half a year. I do not understand, he finally said. How? Maya's expression softened slightly. Look, Commander, I get it. This is not what you expected to find. But humans, we are adaptable. It is kind of our thing. Sure, the crash was bad. Yeah, we lost people. Her voice caught slightly, the first sign of pain breaking through her cheerful exterior. Davidson and Kowalski did not make it past the first night. Torres died 3 weeks in from an infection we could not treat. But the rest of us, we looked at each other and we made a choice. We could sit around waiting to die, or we could live. So we chose to live, Dr. Park continued. We studied the planet. Learned what was edible and what was not. Figured out the local ecology. Made friends with the neighbors. She gestured to Thunderfoot, who was now lying down in a sunny spot, apparently napping. Marcus took over. Humans have this thing, see. We bond with stuff. We will pet anything if we think there is even a chance it might like us. And turns out, most creatures respond pretty well to food and kindness. Who knew? Your protocols, Velx said, grasping for something solid in this sea of impossibility. You violated every single survival protocol. You should have maintained minimal contact with local fauna, preserved resources, and waited for extraction. Yeah, Maya agreed. We should have. But where is the fun in that? A bell rang from inside the cafe. Lunch is ready, called another voice. Who is hungry? Maya looked at the rescue team with an expression that was pure mischief. You folks staying? We have got stew today. Made with vegetables from our garden, and some of the local fish from the river. Fair warning though, it is a bit spicy. We found this root that is basically alien jalapeno, and we might have gone a little overboard. Velx looked at his team. They all looked back at him with the same expression of complete bewilderment. I need to file a report, he said weakly. File it over lunch, Maya said firmly. Rule number 1 of the Lucky Landing, nobody works on an empty stomach. Come on. And somehow, Commander Velx found himself sitting at a wooden table on an alien world, eating stew served by humans, who should have been dead, while a domesticated megapredator snored in the background and rainbow-colored flying creatures played in the trees overhead. The stew was delicious. The report was going to be a nightmare. But looking around at the smiling faces of the survivors, at the life they had built from nothing but determination and apparently infinite optimism, Velx found himself thinking that maybe, just maybe, he was beginning to understand why humans were considered the galaxy's most terrifying species, not because they were the strongest or the smartest, but because they simply refused to give up, and apparently, they would make friends with anything. Commander Velx sat in the cafe 3 hours later, staring at his datapad with the kind of existential dread usually reserved for facing down hostile armadas. The cursor blinked mockingly at him on the incident report form. Status of crew, deceased to survivors, unknown. He typed thriving and then deleted it. Command would think his translator had malfunctioned. More coffee, Commander, asked a human woman who had introduced herself as Jamie Liu, the crew's former communications officer and current head baker. She held up a pot that smelled like heaven distilled into liquid form. Please, Velx said, pushing his cup forward. This was his 4th cup. He was fairly certain caffeine was going to be lethal to his species in these quantities, but at this point, he welcomed the sweet release of death. Jamie poured with practiced ease, then set down a plate with something she called a cinnamon roll. Fresh from the oven. The cinnamon is actually from a tree bark we found. Bit different from earth cinnamon, but close enough. Velx took a bite. His taste receptors, all 17 of them, sang in harmony. You have created art, he said solemnly. Jamie beamed. Wait until you try the sourdough. We have been cultivating the starter for 4 months now. She is a temperamental lady, but worth it. Lieutenant Cross appeared at Velx's elbow, her antenna drooping with exhaustion. Sir, you need to see the rest of the compound. There is more. There is so much more. 20 minutes later, Velx stood at the edge of what could only be described as a village. The cafe was apparently just the central hub. Radiating outward were a dozen smaller structures, sleeping quarters, storage buildings, a medical facility, and something Marcus proudly called the brewery. Beer? Velx asked, his voice climbing an octave. You made beer. Technically ale, Marcus corrected, leading them inside. Rows of barrels lined the walls, each labeled with dates and batch numbers. Turns out one of the grain-like plants here ferments beautifully. We have been experimenting with different varieties. This one, he tapped a barrel lovingly, has a nutty flavor with hints of caramel. That one is more citrusy. We are still working on a proper lager, but we will get there. Dr. Park appeared in the doorway. Marcus, stop showing off your alcohol and help me with the newcomers. Newcomers? Velx felt his mandibles go numb. What newcomers? Dr. Park led them to the northern edge of the settlement where a cluster of crude, but functional shelters had been erected. Inside them, Velx saw approximately 20 individuals of varying ages, all human, all very much alive. The mining expedition from the Horizon Valley, Dr. Park explained. Their ship went down about 60 miles from here, 2 months after we crashed. They sent up a flare, we sent Marcus and Biscuit to investigate, and well, one thing led to another. A human male with dark skin and a prosthetic leg approached, hand extended in the traditional human greeting gesture. Captain James Okafor, formerly of the mining vessel Copper Dream. Your people are looking for us too, I assume. Velx shook the hand mechanically. How many ships have crashed on this planet? Just the 2, as far as we know, James said cheerfully. Though the locals tell us there was something that came down in the southern continent about a year ago. We have not made it that far yet. The locals? Cross whispered, her voice strangled. Oh right, you have not met them yet. James cupped his hands around his mouth. Pip. Ring the council. From the forest emerged 3 creatures that made Velx's defensive implants start screaming warnings. They walked upright on 2 legs, stood roughly 4 feet tall, and had faces that were disturbingly expressive. Their fur ranged from silver to dark brown, and their large eyes held an intelligence that was immediately recognizable. We call them whistlers, James explained as the creatures approached. They communicate through a series of musical tones. Dr. Park has been working on a translation matrix, but honestly, we mostly just wing it. The lead whistler, its fur streaked with white, made a series of melodious sounds. It bowed slightly, then extended what looked like a gift, a woven basket filled with purple fruit. Thank you, Pip, Dr. Park said, accepting the basket with a bow of her own. She turned to Velx. The whistlers are the native sentient species. Tool users, agriculturalists, and apparently, they have been watching us since we crashed. Took them 3 months to decide we were not a threat. You made first contact, Velx said, his voice flat. You, a group of stranded civilians, made first contact with an unknown sentient species. Well, when you put it that way, it sounds way more official than it was, Maya said, appearing with Thunderfoot ambling behind her. The massive predator had what looked like a child riding on its back, screaming with delight. Really, Pip and his people approached us. We just did not screw it up. The whistler named Pip made another series of sounds, gesturing between the humans and the rescue team. He wants to know if you are family, Dr. Park translated. If you are taking the sky crashers away. Velx looked at the gathered humans. At the settlement they had built. At the animals they had domesticated. At the native species they had befriended. At the impossible, ridiculous, utterly human defiance of every single rule of survival. I do not know what we are doing, he admitted. Maya laughed, the sound bright and unrestrained. Join the club, Commander. We have been making it up as we go for 6 months. But hey, it has worked out pretty okay so far. Okay. Cross sputtered. You have built a functioning society. Society is a strong word, Marcus said. We prefer organized chaos with snacks. A chime sounded from Velx's communicator. He glanced down to see a priority message from the rescue ship. His second officer's face appeared, antenna rigid with stress. Commander, we have a situation. Long-range sensors are picking up 3 more distress beacons on this planet. All human vessels, all crashed within the last 8 months. I am sending coordinates now. Velx felt something in his brain break. Just a small snap, like a thread pulled too tight. How many humans are on this planet? He asked the air, not really expecting an answer. Maya pulled out a hand-drawn map, unfolding it with a flourish. It was covered in marks, notes, and sketches. Well, there is us, that is 12. James and his crew, that is 20. Then there is the research team we found last month in the eastern forest, that is 8 more. And we have been getting smoke signals from the western mountains for about 3 weeks now, so probably another group there. She did quick mental math. Conservatively. Maybe 50 to 70 humans, give or take. And how many, Velx asked carefully, are dead? The mood shifted. Maya's smile faded slightly. 17 that we know of, she said quietly. Most in the initial crashes. A few from injuries or illness we could not treat. We buried them proper. Said words. Their names are on the memorial behind the cafe. For the first time since landing, Velx saw past the cheerful resilience to the grief underneath. These people had lost friends, colleagues, maybe family. They had watched people die and had been powerless to stop it. And instead of breaking, they had built. I am sorry, Velx said, meaning it. Yeah, Maya said. Us too. But we figured the best way to honor them was to survive. To make something. To prove that their sacrifice, getting others to safety during the crashes meant something. She straightened, the moment of vulnerability passing. So we did. We are doing. Jamie emerged from the cafe ringing a bell. Town meeting. Rescue ship wants to take us home, apparently. Need to vote on whether we are going. Vote? Velx repeated as humans began gathering from various parts of the settlement. Democracy, Commander, James said. Just because we crashed on an alien planet does not mean we abandoned our principles. The humans assembled in front of the cafe, roughly 40 individuals in total. They ranged from young adults to graying elders, representing at least a dozen different ethnic backgrounds. All looked healthy, if somewhat weathered. None looked like they had been fighting for survival. Maya climbed onto a table, cupping her hands around her mouth. Okay folks, here is the situation. Galactic Survey Corps is here. They can take us home. Back to stations, back to Earth, back to whatever planets we came from. But, she paused dramatically, we need to decide if that is what we want. A murmur ran through the crowd. I like it here, called out a woman with short black hair. We have got a good thing going. My contract with the mining company is probably void anyway, James added. Not sure I want to go back to that life. The whistlers need us, Dr. Park said. We are on the verge of real communication breakthroughs. Another few months and we could establish formal relations. Plus we just got the irrigation system working, Marcus protested. And I am this close to perfecting the lager recipe. Velx felt reality slipping again. You want to stay? You want to stay on this planet that nearly killed you? Maya looked at him with an expression of profound patience, the kind usually reserved for explaining simple concepts to children. Commander, this planet did not nearly kill us. It welcomed us. Yeah, we had a rough start, but look around. We have food, shelter, community. We have got Biscuit and Thunderfoot and the Flitters. We have got friends, she gestured to Pip and the other whistlers. We have got purpose. What exactly are we going back to? Cramped stations. Corporate jobs. The same old routine. Civilization. Velx suggested weakly. We have got civilization right here, Jamie countered. We just built it ourselves. A vote was called. Of the 43 humans present, 37 voted to stay. 6 wanted to return, mostly for family reasons, which everyone agreed was perfectly valid. So here is what we are thinking, Maya said to Velx after the vote concluded. Those who want to leave, take them home. Tell Command about this place. But maybe, do not tell them everything. You want me to lie in an official report. Not lie. Just, be selective with details. Maybe leave out the part about the whistlers until we have had more time to establish proper relations. Maybe underplay how well we are doing. We do not want some corporation swooping in and claiming this planet, kicking us out, and exploiting the resources. Or worse, Dr. Park added darkly, sending colonists who will not respect the native population. Velx looked at his datapad. At the blinking cursor. At the impossible task of accurately reporting what he had found. You are asking me to commit career suicide, he said. We are asking you to do the right thing, Maya said. Look, eventually, people will find out. This planet will get catalogued, studied, maybe settled. But give us time. Give the whistlers time. Let us establish something real here before the galaxy comes calling. Pip, the lead whistler, made a series of sounds. Dr. Park listened intently, then translated. He says the sky crashers have good hearts. He says his people have lived in fear of strangers from above for generations. But you, she pointed to the humans, you shared food. Helped when his daughter was sick. Taught them new songs. He asks that you be given the chance to stay, to teach his people, to learn from them. Velx looked at his team. Cross's antennae were trembling. The others looked equally torn. I need to think, Velx said. Fair enough, Maya said. Think over dinner. We are having a feast tonight. Celebration for the rescue that showed up and for the new members of our weird little family. That night, under 3 moons that painted the sky in shades of amber and violet, Velx sat at a long table surrounded by humans and whistlers. Thunderfoot dozed nearby, the Flitters perched in the trees singing their evening songs, and Biscuit's babies played in the grass. The food was extraordinary. Roasted vegetables, fresh bread, fish from the river, fruit pies made with local berries. The ale Marcus had been so proud of turned out to be genuinely excellent. Stories were told. Laughter echoed across the compound. A human with a guitar played music, and the whistlers joined in with their melodious tones, creating harmonies that made Velx's auditory organs ache with beauty. So what do you think? Maya asked, settling next to him with a plate of food. I think, Velx said slowly, that you are all completely insane. Fair assessment. I also think that you have done something remarkable here. Something that will be studied for generations. Now you are just flattering us. Velx set down his fork. I will file a report listing minimal survivors establishing basic survival protocols. I will recommend routine check-ins every 6 months. I will note the presence of potentially sentient native life, but recommend against immediate contact until further study. That should buy you a year, maybe 2, before serious attention comes your way. Maya's face split into a grin. You are a good person, Commander. I am violating approximately 17 different regulations. Best violations are always done for good reasons. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching Marcus attempt to teach a whistler the basics of brewing beer while Dr. Park took detailed notes. Why did you really crash here? Velx asked quietly. This planet is off all major routes. The odds of one ship crashing here are astronomical. Multiple ships. That is beyond coincidence. Maya's expression grew serious. We have a theory. There is something in this system, some kind of gravitational anomaly or field generation. It is subtle, but if your navigation is off by even a fraction, it pulls you in. We have been trying to map it, warn others, but without proper equipment. She shrugged. That is actually another reason to stay. Someone needs to be here, to help the next ship that crashes. Because there will be a next one. You are establishing a rescue station. We are establishing a home that happens to have rescue capabilities, Maya corrected. Big difference. Velx looked at her, this impossible human who had turned disaster into opportunity, who had made friends with predators and negotiated with aliens and built a society from crashed ship parts and sheer determination. Your species terrifies me, he admitted. Maya laughed, the sound warm and genuine. Yeah, we get that a lot. But hey, we are friendly once you get to know us. Want another cinnamon roll? 3 days later, the rescue ship departed with 6 humans aboard, carrying messages for family and promises to return. Velx watched the planet shrink in the view screen, his datapad heavy with the weight of the most sanitized, carefully worded report he had ever filed. Think they will be okay? Cross asked. I think, Velx said slowly, that they will not just be okay. I think they will thrive. And in a few years, when the galaxy discovers what they have built, it will change everything we think we know about survival, adaptation, and first contact protocols. Should we be worried? Velx thought about Maya's grin, about Thunderfoot wearing a collar with bells, about Pip and his people learning human songs, about a cafe on an alien world serving coffee and pastries to anyone who wandered in. No, he said finally. But the galaxy should be. Because if humans can do this with 2 crashed ships and no resources, imagine what they will do when they actually try. The ship jumped to hyperspace, leaving behind a planet that would, within 5 years, become the most successful human-alien integration project in galactic history. The Lucky Landing Cafe would become a neutral meeting ground for a dozen species. The Whistlers would be granted full sentient status and representation in the Galactic Council. And Maya Okonkwo would be nominated for the Stellar Peace Prize, but that was all in the future, for now, on a planet whose official designation was simply Survey World 6847. A group of humans and their adopted family of aliens and domesticated megapredators were settling in for the evening, planning tomorrow's menu, and arguing about whether the new batch of ale was better than the last. Somewhere in the forest, another distress beacon activated. Maya heard the alert, grabbed her coat, and whistled for Biscuit. Come on, girl, she said, checking her supplies. We have got work to do. Because that was what humans did, they survived. They adapted. They built. They helped, and apparently, they made really good coffee.